One of the worst situations you can find yourself in is not liking your current job, looking for another job, getting it, and then finding yourself in the exact same spot within a couple of months. And that's why you should never ignore red flags in an interview. Chances are, if you go on a romantic date with someone and things are off, you're not likely going to immediately say yes to being their partner if they ask. But I see people doing this all the time with their jobs. So in this video, I'm talking about the top red flags you should always be on the lookout for if you're interviewing. If you're new here, hello, I'm Nicole Nyasha, an ex-recruiter, and I share career and professional development content. I hope you enjoy this video and choose to subscribe. And if you're already a member of this community, hello again, I appreciate you being here. If the interviewer can't provide a clear or detailed description of your job responsibilities, what their expectations are, and what success will look like in the role, that's a huge warning sign. You need to understand what you're getting into and how you can contribute to that team or the company's goals. Vague answers could indicate a poorly defined role or potential future changes that haven't been communicated. Now, this isn't entirely a bad thing, but then you may need to ask yourself some follow-up questions. Is this a brand new role? If it's not a brand new role and somebody else has already been hired for this, then there should already be some sort of process, some sort of structure, and the hiring manager should have an idea of what they need. If it's a new role, then it's understandable if they can't clearly spell out what your day-to-day would look like, but they should have some expectations or know the outcomes that they would like to achieve from hiring you. A good caveat to include here is if you know that you won't flourish in an environment that's constantly changing, don't move forward, because if it's not defined, there's a very high chance that it might change. But if you're an adventure-loving individual, you like building from the ground up, then this is definitely your thing. Go for it. The important details you discuss during the offer stage should be in writing. A promise of a higher salary after you start or after 3 months isn't a guarantee if you don't have it in writing. Don't fall for this trap. Even if it's not a trap, let's say the hiring manager or the recruiter are truly being genuine and they want to offer you something. What happens if they resign a few weeks after you join? How are you going to prove that this is what was promised to you? It's literally your word against nothing, because there's no proof. That's why you always want things to be clearly outlined in your contract if you've negotiated beyond the regular scope. So things like salary, obviously, your vacation, time off, working arrangement. Let's say the company requires employees to be in the office 2 to 3 times a week, and then you negotiate to go in once or twice a week. You need to have this in writing. Any bonuses, stock options, have them draft some sort of addendum that outlines everything and that can be attached to the standard contract. Pay attention to how the interviewer talks. Are they fully present with you, or are they distracted? Are they constantly checking their phone or looking down, not remembering your answers? Another one is bad-mouthing others. That's potentially a glimpse into what your one-on-one sessions with your future boss will look like. Are they disrespectful and intentionally trying to throw you off, or are they intimidating you, gaslighting you? That's also potentially a glimpse of what your working relationship could look like if you accept that offer. It's also worth paying attention to how everyone treats you when you go for the interview in person. What's the environment like? Are people enthusiastic and positive, or are they disengaged and disinterested? That could be an indication of something wrong within the work culture. Perhaps it's a toxic culture. Coming across maybe 1 or 2 unpleasant individuals is fine. They could be having a rough day. But if everybody you encounter is like that, you may want to reconsider working there. A toxic work culture can lead to job dissatisfaction and in severe instances impact your mental well-being. So if the energy is not pleasant, just walk away. Another way to tell if an environment is toxic is if you constantly get defensive answers to your questions. An interview is a two-way stream. Yes, they're evaluating you, but on the other end, you should also be evaluating if this is the good fit for you. So if they're not responding to your questions, that's a red flag. Unless you're interviewing for an executive level position, generally you should have a maximum of 3 to 4 interviews before a hiring decision is made. If you find yourself having to attend a fifth, a sixth, seventh interview, that's a major red flag. This could indicate some internal issues. Perhaps they're not sure if they want to hire. Maybe they don't know exactly what they're looking for at this time. Maybe they can't agree on the right person, or maybe you're just not the right fit. Walk away. On the flip side, if things are moving too fast, you may want to slow down and look at the details. Don't ever feel pressured to accept and sign an offer right away, especially if they give you an ultimatum to sign in 24 hours. They want to resign the offer after you've negotiated. There's nothing wrong with following up and asking them to revisit the offer details. That should never be a reason for them to resign the offer, unless, of course, you're asking for the impossible. So if they're pressuring you to sign, that's a red flag. Inconsistent and unprofessional communication is also something that should have you raising an eyebrow. In fact, raising both eyebrows. This could be delayed responses to your emails, missed interview appointments, consistent rescheduling, provided no one is sick. But if they're pretty much, petty excuses or there's lack of follow-up, that's a big red flag. How a company communicates and treats you during the hiring process is somewhat an indication of how they treat their employees, partners, customers, and a reflection of their values. If they're disorganized and disrespectful, this is likely to continue once you're on board. You'll realize that you've joined a company that has no processes and things are really messy on the inside. And this includes tardiness as well. If you have, let's say, 3 interviews, and for all 3 or maybe 2, the interviewers log on late, show up late, that's a reason to be concerned. You also need to think about your personal boundaries. One of the things I speak about a lot is knowing what you want before you start job searching. So what's your baseline or walk away figure in terms of the salary? What working conditions do you want? Is it hybrid? Is it remote? In terms of work-life balance, do you want a company that's a work hard, play hard, which basically means that they want you to work long hours? That's a red flag for me personally because I value my evenings and my weekends. I don't want to work. So figure out what those are for yourself and then make a decision. Make a decision on what you're going to accept, what you won't accept. So those are some red flags to keep in mind when you're interviewing. Always keep at the back of your head that an interview is a two-way street. Whilst the company is, evaluating you and seeing if you have the relevant experience that they need, you should also be trying to determine if that company is a good fit for you. Always trust your instincts and don't ignore the red flags. Let me know in the comments what you think about these red flags. Let me know some of your non-negotiables in the comments as well. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, you'll definitely enjoy this one as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.